Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy or maybe relaxing weekend to immerse yourself in English. I'll be live here for the next 20 to 30 minutes, or if it's like last week, 50 minutes. Somehow some lessons just go on and on and on. So I hope that today you're going to be able to use English. We're talking about pronunciation today, so I hope you'll be able to speak out loud, practice some English out loud, and I'll try to read as many of your sentences as possible and give you some feedback. During live lessons, you never know what's going to happen. Could be good vocabulary, grammar, different questions answered, who knows? So I hope that you'll enjoy today's live lesson. And if it's the first time that you've ever joined me for a live lesson, you can do this every Sunday morning at this time, 9 a.m. EST, that's the New York time. And I hope that you join us every single week. I've been doing this for 7 years. Oh my goodness. Every Sunday. I've only missed a few. Wow. Amazing. Thank you all for your dedication. All right. I'm going to quickly double check and make sure everything is working well. Good morning, Michelle, Meltem. Hello, Richard, Henry, Inma. Welcome, welcome. Alrighty, I'm going to write down my question for you today. And today's question is about a conflict. I'll write it out here. What is something that you want to do, but something else more? Okay, so this question seems a little complicated, but it's not. What is something that you want to do, but you want to do something else more? So really I wanted to talk about just today. Like, what is something you want to do today, but you're probably not going to do that because you want to do something else more. So let me give you a little example and then I'll give you a chance to think of your answers. For example, I want to work out this morning, but I also really want to sleep in. So here we have a conflict. We call this is a conflict of interest. So I want to work out this morning, but I also really want to sleep in. So the second thing is what is going to be stopping you from doing the first thing, usually. So I want you to think about what is something you want to do today, but something else that you want to do is probably going to stop you from doing that. Or it could be generally in your life as well. If you want to take that question a little bit broader, no problem. Good morning, Edith. Hello. Jisuke, welcome. I haven't joined the live lesson for a while. Thank you for rejoining us. It's always nice to come back and see that still the same. Alejandra, welcome, welcome. Rami, welcome. Samnang, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate everyone from no matter what time zone you're in, no matter what time of day it is right now, you are able to spend a few minutes with English, and that's great. And that's one of the goals for these live lessons is for you to be able to use English a little bit today, and also to remind you, oh yes, I am enjoying learning English and I want to continue. So during this week, you can watch some lessons, you can listen to some podcasts, you can connect with someone else in this group and speak with them. It's a good reminder, a little motivation, I hope. Lolo, welcome. Diliara, welcome. Selma says, I want to watch some movies, but I also want to prepare for tomorrow's errands. Okay, so you have a fun thing and also a necessary thing. So let's write this out here. I want to watch some movies, but I also want to prepare for tomorrow's errands. Just to let you know, an errand is a chore outside the home. So maybe going to the post office or going grocery shopping. These types of things that aren't usually very fun, but it's just a necessary part of life. Antonia says, I want to be with my family barbecuing, but I also want to be in the live lesson with Vanessa. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Did we win? Did I win? No, of course. You can always go be with your family right after this, right? So here, the pronunciation that I want to focus on is that fun reduction, wanna. Want to becomes wanna. So for Antonio's sentence, I'm going to just simply copy this beautiful sentence and write it out again, if you don't mind. I want to be with my family barbecuing, but I'm just going to add the word also. I also want to be in the live lesson with Vanessa. So glad you're here. So here we're going to say, I wanna be with my family barbecuing, but I also want to be in the live lesson with Vanessa. So let's take a pause. I'm going to read all of the wonderful sentences that you have just written, but I want to say this out loud with you so that you can practice that reduction. I know a lot of you already use this when you speak. Wonderful. But also it's going to be helpful when you're listening to just natural conversations. I know it's very common when you're learning a language to feel like advanced speakers, native speakers speak unbelievably fast. And I think everyone who's learning any language feels like that. So this is one of the keys, just learning those reductions. Wanna, gotta, gonna. And today we're just focusing on wanna. So let's read this sentence together. And I wanna practice it with you. And I would like for you to speak out loud. So can you do that? Don't worry if your family's barbecuing. Don't worry if your family is sleeping, if they're watching you thinking, what are you doing? Don't worry, you're cool. You're learning English. So let's say the sentence all together. I want to be with my family barbecuing, but I also want to be in the live lesson with Vanessa. Here we're just practicing wanna. Want to becomes wanna. All right, so here, to becomes wanna. I want to go to sleep, but I also want to study English. Ava says, I want to have a really relaxing and also disciplined Sunday, but after a half-day trip to the farm, I felt so tired and did nothing for the evening, and this live session is the only thing I'm doing after my farm trip in the morning. Oh, what an honor. Thank you. And I totally get that. Sometimes an activity just wipes you out. I feel like that. I think when I was younger, like 20s, I could do everything all day, nonstop, late into the night. And now, if I do something after 7 o'clock, I feel like it's so late. How are there other people awake right now? My day ends at 7 o'clock usually. I don't go to bed then, but I do only calm things at that point. I don't go out usually. So here we can write, I want to do some other activities, but I feel so wiped out after a busy morning at the farm. Wiped out, just totally tired. I want to pass the exam, but I also want to study nothing. Wouldn't that be great? Just sleep on your book. Foy says, I want to read a book, but I feel like I want to learn English from Vanessa's YouTube channel too. Okay, so we've got kind of two good interests, right? Positive interests that are conflicting. I want to read a book. Maybe you can watch a YouTube video and then read a book, or the other way around. Rabia says, I want to be in this live lesson with you, but I also want to drink tea. I have good news. I have some tea. It's so good too. You can do both at the same time. Good news. Swat says, I want to be rich, but I don't want to work hard. Isn't it a conflict of interest? Yes. That's the hard thing, right? Michelle says, Vanessa, are people delusional to become like native speakers? You know, I don't think that most English learners think that they will become absolutely like a native speaker. You can become extremely advanced, but deep down inside us, our native language will always touch our hearts and feel more comfortable than anything else. You can move to, for example, Japan and speak Japanese for 40 years, but still your native language is going to feel different inside of you. So it is possible to, become extremely advanced, fluent, but I think a native speaker is not just the vocabulary you use, your fluentness. It's also like the feeling you get when you speak that language. There's a certain level of nostalgia or emotional connection to your native language. So I do think absolutely you can become advanced, fluent, feel extremely comfortable speaking, not feel nervous. All of that is absolutely possible. But to become a native speaker is kind of a different situation, I think. It has less to do with language skills and more to do with the mindset of, oh, I grew up with this language. This is the language my parents spoke. This is the culture that I grew up in. It's kind of a different situation, if that makes sense. All right, let me read some of your other wonderful sentences here. And it just says, I really don't want to eat this chocolate, but I really want to eat it. It's the most burning conflict in my life right now. Congratulations. If this is the most burning conflict you have, you're doing great. Isn't that a hard one? I really don't want to eat that cake, but I really do. I'm going to write this out here because we can kind of shorten it like that. I really don't want to eat that piece of cake, but I really do. So here we don't even need to repeat the subject afterwards. I really don't want to eat that piece of cake because I know it's not healthy for me. I already ate a piece, but I really do. I'm not saying I really do want to eat the piece of cake, but I think that we can shorten it and just say, but I really do, because we already said that at the beginning of the sentence. Michelle says, I really appreciate how you put it bluntly. Well, thank you. Manuela says, I want to go to the lake, but I have to run some errands. Okay, so here we have a beautiful other reduction that we can add. I want to go to the lake, so something fun, but I have to run some errands. And here, have to is the reduction for have to. So the V becomes an F, have to. I have to run some errands. Unfortunately, right? Jisuke says, I want to eat ramen at least twice a week, but I also want to exercise more in order to keep myself healthy. Oh, yes, isn't that hard? It's like the chocolate cake dilemma that Edita was having. I really want to do this unhealthy thing, but I also really want to be healthy. What can I do? Marcel says, I have to wash the dishes this morning, but I prefer watching my preferred teacher, Vanessa. Thank you for joining me. And you know what? You can even set the phone or whatever you're using beside the sink, wash some dishes, and watch at the same time. I do this all the time with, with a podcast, sometimes a YouTube video if the video is not very visual and I can just listen to it. But you can also just take a break and study English right now and do the dishes later. They'll be waiting for you. Trust me. They're not going anywhere. Eleanor says, I want to study English, but I also want to practice yoga at the same time. Maybe you can do English yoga. Walter says, I want to speak English clearly and speak confidently, but I also want to become an English translator. Oh, very cool. that would be awesome. And I think those things, so this is an advanced phrase. You could absolutely use it. In fact, I used it yesterday in my conversations. So Walter wants two things. He wants to speak English clearly and he wants to become an English translator. Do you think he can do both of those things? Yeah, absolutely. These things are not a conflict. Maybe the time spent practicing speaking could be a conflict to the time spent studying translation work, possibly, but they're connected still. They're not completely in conflict. So what we could say is, I want to speak English clearly and I want to become an English translator. I guess those two things are not mutually exclusive. Ooh, lovely phrase here. So to be mutually exclusive means they absolutely, if I can write that out, cannot go together. You cannot be at the grocery store and be at your house at the same time. Those two things are mutually exclusive. You can either be at home or be at the store. It's a very simple way to put it, but you can speak English clearly and become a translator. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. So yesterday I was having a discussion with one of my neighbors and they were talking about two things that they wanted to do, and in their mind they kind of felt like I have to choose one of them. And when I heard the situation, I said, well, those two things aren't mutually exclusive. You can do both of them. Or you can do a little bit of this and some of that one. So this was just like another person's perspective. You know, sometimes it can bring clarity to the situation. So this expression, mutually exclusive, can be used negatively, like I said for Walter. These are not mutually exclusive. You could do both of them if you wanted. All right, let me read a few other of these. Lolo, if you feel like my voice and the video are not matching, it seems like everything is working okay right now, so you can close the Facebook app and try to open it again. Sometimes that helps. And it could just be a technical error too. Emma says, last night we ate out and I wanted some cheesecake for dessert, but I also wanted to go home not feeling overstuffed. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Yes, so this is a famous phrase, right? You can't have your cake and eat it too. Sometimes I say this, but in the positive way. I want my cake and to eat it too. I want my cake and to eat it too. I want the good thing and I want this other good thing. Why can't I have both? Lizzie Sophia says, in my neighborhood on Sunday, they close the street so people can ride or walk or exercise. I want to go to run, but I also really want to stay laying in the bed all day. Oh, that's an interesting way to kind of encourage people to get out, socialize, exercise. I like that. Wiped out, you're right. Wiped out means exhausted, totally tired. I'll write this out. To be or feel wiped out means completely exhausted. At the end of most days, I feel wiped out. Rami says, I want to have breakfast, but I also want to be here learning English. It's 6:13 in Seattle. Congratulations. You are amazing. You fought against sleep this morning. You woke up. You knew what time this lesson was, and you're here. You're amazing. Zareen says, I want to take this English class, but people in my house are making too much noise. Oh, I'm sorry. It is difficult. Every Sunday morning, Dan, my husband, has to keep my 3 children quiet while I have this lesson. So right now they're coloring at the kitchen table. They have some Halloween coloring sheets they're very excited about, and they're coloring kind of quietly. Peach says, last week I was composing a poster for a regional conference, but I haven't finished it yet. Today I want to get it completed. I want to join Vanessa's live class, and then I want to participate on the online Zoom meeting. In the afternoon, I will finish composing my conference poster. Busy Sunday. Wow, very busy Sunday. Just to let you know, we don't usually use the word composing for a poster. We usually just use that for music, to compose music. Instead, I would use the phrasal verb put together. So we could say, later this afternoon, I will finish putting together my conference poster. Cool. So here, to put together means to make it complete or nice, to put it together. I'll finish putting it together. You can put together furniture. You can put together a poster. You're putting the various pieces in one place where they should go. Henry says, I've noticed I can feel when I have an accent, and I can switch to an American accent. Sometimes people get confused about it and in the end ask, where are you from? It's kind of fun. I do think that when you can hear in your second language or third, like English, when you can hear your accent or possibly someone else's accent in that language, that is a totally different level. I remember when I was in France and I heard one of my American friends speaking French, and I could hear their English accent speaking French. I was so surprised and so excited too, because I thought, oh, I can hear like I wouldn't say the mistakes, but you know, the not French sounding sounds in their speaking that, okay, they sound like an American speaking French, and I can hear that. I was so excited. So maybe this is what you're doing. You're kind of playing around with the accent or the different sounds that you're saying and maybe confusing people a bit. Fun. Tracy says, I don't think we need to become like a native English speaker because your accent allows other people to identify ourselves. Yeah, I think there's certainly two different levels. You can feel really embarrassed and frustrated about sounding like you are from your country. Nothing wrong with sounding like you're from your country, because you are. That is an integral part of who you are. And the other side of pronunciation is, I just want people to understand me better. And that is, I think, the healthy way to improve your pronunciation. I just want people to understand me better, so I'm going to practice speaking clearly, practice pronunciation, practice reductions like we're doing today, but certainly not feeling embarrassed about whenever I speak and someone says, oh, you're from Italy. That's fine. Don't worry about that. You are. You can be proud of that. And it is a fabulous icebreaker when someone asks where you're from or says, oh, I can hear your accent and I can hear that you're from Italy. Don't feel embarrassed about that. First of all, it's cool that you're from your country. That's great. And also, that person cares enough about you to ask and start a conversation, and it's a great icebreaker. So yeah, I agree, Tracy. I know I feel like that when I speak French. I definitely sound like I'm an English speaker. I make plenty of mistakes, but I have lots of motivation to just have a conversation, to make the other person feel like they can just speak with me instead of feeling uncomfortable or awkward, and just throw out my mistakes, just go for it. Who knows how it's going to sound, but just try. That is really the best way to just try to speak. All right, I'm going to read a few more of your wonderful sentences here, and then I will tell you about how you can speak. Yeah, right now. Well, in about 30 minutes. Michelle says, how many languages, if I can say that, do you speak, Vanessa? Really just French, and English, obviously. I know a couple bits of Spanish, a couple bits of Korean. I can read Korean, but I don't know what I'm reading. I can say it out loud, but I don't know what the words mean often. I can read like food and survival stuff, but not conversational things. How did you start learning French? That's a great question. I took a college class, and it was the very first time I had ever heard French. I didn't even know that oui, which means yes, started with an O. I had no idea. This was my level of beginner. Sometimes that like really surprises me. But I took like a basic French 101 class, and everyone in there was like 3 years younger than me and had already had French in high school, but I had nothing. And I just felt really excited about it. It felt like something inside me that I had never opened before got cracked open, and there was like this sunshine flying out every time that I studied French, heard French. I just felt like so excited. I don't know if you feel like this with English. I hope so. But it's the same now. Anytime that I have a French lesson every week. Whenever I speak with my French teacher, it doesn't matter what we're talking about. I just feel so excited. So yeah, I think that spark was there at the very beginning. And then I studied abroad in the UK and visited France twice, just for a few days, and got excited about, oh, people are really using this, and I have no clue what anyone is saying. I cannot say anything to anyone. And my French teacher in the US helped me to find a nanny job, an au pair job in France. So I lived with a French family for 1 year, and that helped a lot. But the French classes that I took in France, that teacher was so great. I always try to be like him. Was so amazing. And connected with other people. In fact, one of the things that I love about the Fearless Fluency Club, actually, it's a good segue, is that a lot of you speak together with each other. And this is one of the key things that helped me to learn French, because in France, I didn't really have many actual French friends. I lived with a French family, and that was helpful. But my friends were from all other countries: Sweden, Austria, Germany, some from the US, some from the UK. They were also nannies of French children, but we all spoke French together, imperfectly, made mistakes. Sometimes we corrected each other. Sometimes we had no idea what each other was saying, but we all spoke French together because that was our common language. In fact, one of my good friends from Austria, I didn't know that she spoke amazing English until Dan came to visit me, and he doesn't speak French. So when he came to France, I was speaking in English with Dan, and my friend was here, and I was speaking French with her, and then she just spoke amazing English to Dan, and I was shocked. I had no clue that this like daily practice, connecting with my friends who were not native French speakers, but that amount of practice all the time, going to parks, walking around, talking about our job with the children, talking about living in a different country, that amount of practice was the most helpful thing to me. It didn't matter that I was living in France or with a French family. All of that stuff was helpful, but having friends who spoke in French with me was extremely helpful. And I love that many of you do that too. I can see that the motivation helps, the connection with other friends helps, and you're just having more practice. You're getting more hours of practice in, and that's what you need, right? So if you would like to get more hours of practice speaking English right now, well, in 27 minutes, you can join the Fearless Fluency Club Sunday Zoom room meeting. So at 10 a.m. EST, which is in 23 minutes, you can join the Fearless Fluency Club Zoom room, and you can introduce yourself, talk about today's topic, what's something you want to do, but you also want to do that. And you can share with other people, because the more you speak, the better you will speak. It is the way it works, right? You just need more practice. And when you practice with nice people who also understand, and you're just chit-chatting, they're not trying to correct everything, trying to find your mistakes, anything like this. You're just practicing. It can help so much. Dennis says, are you fluent in French now? So you know what? I would say when I left France, this was a long time ago, 14 years ago, 2010. I was there 2009 to 2010. When I left France, I would say yes. I spoke English, of course. I spoke French very well. And then I only speak in French 30 minutes per week now. Sometimes I go to meetings in my city. There's little French speaking meetings in my city. I listen to French podcasts, these types of things. I would say I am not as fluent as I used to be. I make a lot of, verb conjugation mistakes, but I can talk about almost any topic. And I think this is a level of fluency, right? Where you can feel really comfortable talking about topics. I can hear and understand most conversations. TV shows, it depends, because I don't watch many French TV shows. That's my mistake, right? I also just don't watch much English TV either. But I think with more practice, those types of scripted conversations get easier and easier. So I'm not as fluent as I was when I left France, but I could have a conversation very easily about lots of topics with lots of mistakes, but I have the confidence, which maybe is more confidence than my skill, but I don't care. I just like to speak, right? All right, before we go today, I want to encourage you to join the Fearless Fluency Club Zoom room at 10 a.m., so in 25 minutes, but also we're going to say a final sentence all together, and I want you to say it out loud with me. No matter where you are around the world, we're going to say it out loud together. All right, here you go. I want to... Okay, I'm trying to write this out correctly at the same time. Okay, so here are two things that you absolutely can do at the same time. I want to speak English confidently, and I also want to meet friends in this group. You can do both of those, and you should. In fact, that's a great way. So one says, I studied French in school and I remember just one phrase. What did you do with the knife? So funny. Okay, let's say the sentence all together. We're going to say it 3 times, and the final time we're going to say it very loudly. So make sure you use that reduction, wanna. I want to speak English confidently, and I also want to meet friends in this group. Are you ready? I want to speak English confidently, and I also want to meet friends in this group. I want to speak English confidently, and I also want to meet friends in this group. All right, final time. Very loud. Are you ready? I want to speak English confidently, and I also want to meet friends in this group. Yes. I hope that this can be true for you. In 23 minutes, you can go to the Fearless Fluency Club Zoom room and speak together. If this is your first time meeting with anyone in this group and you feel really nervous about it, that feeling is absolutely normal. You can still go to the group, and if you want to just say, "Hi, I'm Vanessa. This is my first time here. Nice to meet you. I want to just listen today." That's totally fine. And then I challenge you the next week on the Sunday Zoom call to speak a little bit more. Talk about your city, where you're from, why you're learning English. And you can prepare a little bit if you want to as well. That's absolutely okay. I hope that you'll take this step by step so that in 3 months, you'll be amazed. Oh, I have way more confidence and my skills are growing as well because I'm getting more practice. That's the goal. So I hope that you can do this. And also, if you are new here and you don't know about the PDF for this lesson, every sentence that I write out in this live lesson, our wonderful teacher Amber will make a PDF of this and post it in the group so that you can review today's live lesson. You can, let's see, to get the free PDF for this live lesson, click on Files in the menu of this group. So the PDF will be available like today or tomorrow. And if you want to see past free PDFs for live lessons, you can just go to the files and see that there. No problem. I hope it will be helpful to you. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you next Sunday. Next Sunday, we are going to try to talk with the MVP of September. End of September was a crazy time. Hurricane here. So we did not get to talk with the MVP, but hopefully we will get to do that next week and you will meet this wonderful person. All right, I'll see you again next week.